Thanks for staying with us. So, Michelle Obama was trending recently because somebody had reposted one of her clips from a time past where she was saying that in her own marriage, well, at the time when she was in her marriage with her husband and before he became president, she felt that she was giving about 70% of herself. She had to put a slow down because her husband also had an ambition into politics, and he was giving about 30%. And then that clip went viral because people are now responding. Let me read to you a few of the responses that somebody had given. Somebody has said that that's a bad advice. According to this person, women should never put their career on a break or slow down for a man, or put 70% while he's putting 30%. Doesn't matter whatever the man turns out to be. Maybe if more men put a break on their own career for women, women will be ruling nations. The idea, therefore, is, would a man make that kind of sacrifice for his wife? That's one. Secondly, how do you know the kind of man to make such a sacrifice for? Because someone is saying that it's because it's Barack. If it was one Tom, Dick, and one guy like this, you go and slow down your career for him. You just find yourself in a different situation. So the question, therefore, is, how does a woman know when to slow down, or if to slow down for her spouse? Where she's a high flyer, she's doing so well, and he has a path that needs you to slow down a bit and support him. Would you do that, or is that too much to ask in this new century of ours where women are well empowered and running things? Okay.
I think that, so I've been reading Old Testament a lot, and it's shocking where women used to be in the past. You know, the little history that I did, it's shocking the way women are seen as commodities. We've come a long way as women. And sometimes when we look at things like this, some young people are feeling like, no, I'm not going to step back. People used to just grab a woman on the street and sleep with her, and it becomes wife or concubine. And that was a norm. Like, it was accepted as long as you wife her. It's okay. People used to knock on, like, there were strange things that were happening, and it was the normal thing. Daughters were, you are owing somebody money, you say, take my daughter. You know, this man is so kind to me. You're a good man. Take my daughter. As in, women were seen as commodities. They were given away. They were collected. They were fought for. They were bought. We have come a long way, and we still have a long way to go. We're not there yet. This comment, for me, Michelle did an amazing thing, and she didn't do it just for Barack. She did it for her children, because the book tour she's doing is about the journey of motherhood, raising good children. Many women nowadays are in a hurry to become governors, presidents, super successful, and they are not raising their children anymore. And you don't have children that are wondering, do my parents love me? And my parents, am I okay? I'm taking it from the perspective of, let's not water down what she's done into a competition of who is the most strongest in this space.
Let me pause you on that. Maria, let me come to you on this thought, because as I said...
When we started, I was so sure of what, my response was going to be. But, that's the thing about listening to other people's opinion. I didn't see it from that way. I just thought, yes, men should also look at it in such a way that they should step back sometimes for the woman to push ahead. We don't have enough of that. We don't see enough of that. Society doesn't even expect it of them, that they would step back so that the woman who is thriving would even do better. And sometimes, it's also to the detriment of the family. He's not doing even so well himself, but would rather everybody, I'm not doing well, madam, stay at home, children, we're not, So, and it's because we do not ask of them enough. But also, it's because men have been told over time, I hear it over and over again, that this is how they describe themselves, as the providers. And so, if they are unable, they have to be able to provide for the family. If they are asked to stay at home or scale back on their own career, that means they have failed. They have failed the family, they failed the wife, and they failed manhood, But it's important that we make that the sacrifices are seen to be, that can be done both ways. That a man should be able to look at a situation and think, you know what, I think where we're headed right now, where you stand right now, go ahead. It should not be a competition. So I'm not pushing for women, no, this is our time, we will not step back. It's a conversation of teamwork. This is where we are right now as a family. And as the woman, I feel that you can push, we can push your career right now. But that does not mean that man stays back home and doesn't do anything. So it means involving yourself in raising your family. We need to have men that do that more often. I recently saw a video of a man where the wife was doing a lot. At first, they said before the COVID, he was doing a lot better. But after the COVID affected his business, he had to stay home. He did not just stay home. He was sweeping, cleaning, doing school runs, when I saw it, even I felt, I've never seen this, like that, where a man is fully involved.
Nigerian?
No, not Nigerian. But, the woman was now talking about finances. She was sitting there with him talking about finances. She was not hiding her finances, because she now realized this is a team work. He's doing his part, and I'm bringing my finances. Okay, what do we do with this?
Right.
If one person doesn't feel that they are making the sacrifices and the other person is not making any sacrifices, I feel that it will work.
Okay, let me come to you, Nima, because before I come to hear your thoughts on this, I wanted to just read 2 comments, which I think I'd like you to touch on. So one person reacting to Michelle Obama said that what you want to say is that Michelle made sacrifices and compromise for a man who is worth it. Make sure your partner is worth the compromise. And that person now said, not compromise, don't care the partner if he's worth it or not, if the partner is worth it or not. It doesn't include tolerating domestic violence. When you want your relationship to work, you better compromise. So some women have compromised and stepped back and regretted it, where they stepped out of their career so that their husband can go forward. And when he goes forward, then he betrays, or maybe goes out with somebody else, or gets somebody pregnant, then she feels like, why did I sacrifice my career? So some people have compromised in the past, and it has burnt them. But how do you determine which man or which spouse is worth it or not worth it for you to take a step back in your own career?
See, this is not play along gender. Because it was Michelle's account, nobody heard what Barack sacrificed or compromised for her. So let's read Barack's account. Because he eventually became president, we might just think he never did have to compromise anything. We don't know how he started and at what stage the compromises were made. As much as women sacrifice and compromise for their relationships, men also do more. We just need to sit with them and assess their own account of what their sacrifices were. And you'll be shocked. I had a friend who gave birth, and I went to visit her. And I was like, it will take you 3 months, so people must do 3 months. She was like, no, I'm starting my business next month. I was like, what will happen to the baby? My husband. And true to God, I saw it, not that they told me. He stayed with that baby for 6 months straight. She would express milk. He stayed home.
In Nigeria?
In my very before. I know this couple very well. I'm sure that what you'll be like, Nima has brought our story out here. He did that for his family. And I used to just, myself and other women would gossip, like, if our husband can just be like this man. Like those that cannot even tie ordinary diaper. They cannot even fetch ordinary water. We used to say that. And that couple, people abused that man. Some people called him woman rapper and all sorts because they saw him at all. Sure. But he did what he needed to do. And the wife is a high-flyer businesswoman. She managed their business till the baby was good. And then he went to join her. And
men have been burnt that way, where they allowed their wives to go to fly that high. And
so
then,
we're talking about human beings.
Yes.
When you see people born, people for being there for them, they are ingrates. Human, and it can be across gender. In a marriage, it can be man, it can be woman, anybody can be born in anybody.
You shouldn't genderize this, yeah.
It's not about gender. It can be any ingrate in any gender. You take your time, you give all you want to give to any person, even mothers, even siblings. It happens. And we don't talk about it that way. But when it becomes a woman, and what even makes it wrong? I personally, for instance, would sit when I want to assess my mothering my children and being a parent. I don't put my husband in the picture. I always put myself alone. Every decision I take, how it affects my kids. I don't even see my husband in the picture as somebody who comes in. I don't put him.
So you have no expectations in that?
I don't. When he does it, I seriously do appreciate it. But whenever I assess how my kids turn out, I don't share that responsibility with anybody. I ask God for these children. I birth them. I don't share it with anyone. Anybody who assists me as a support system, God bless you. That's the way I see it. I'm serious.
That's a different angle. Let me go on a break.
Okay.
Let me come back because this is an interesting angle.
I want to land it.
I'll come back to you, Nima, after the break. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. We're still discussing this matter, and Nima had a...
So I was saying that, whenever I assess my role as a mother, it's only me I assess. I don't look at my support system and blame them for anything. Whatever they're able to assist me with, that I benefited from, I recognize. Whatever I am unable to meet because I did not have support or someone to, I blame myself because I need to be the one to check. I'm the one who has my kids. I'm 100% on my kids' issue. Both of them, 110% on their issue alone. We can then be sitting down as a parent to decide how it goes. I said it on the show that I took a decision as to where my child will be spending camp, and I did not carry my husband along because that's the way I was like, she needs this right now, and so it's going to happen. And it was like, so in this house, and decisions just happened. That was when I caught myself and apologized because that's the way I think. I think in life, when you make your compromises, it doesn't matter how it turns out. Own it as your choice. And on the consequence, it can be
don't label
anyway.
it because I'm the woman.
Don't have the mentality after all I have done for you. That's where the problem is. When you're doing something and the person is going and is going, that's you. You're married. You're each one and as a unit. His successes are yours. Own it. If whatever choices you were making, it wasn't working for him, you can also call him in a family and say, okay, I've stepped down for 4 years. I've watched you at this thing. It's not working. Can I try my own? So let's see if it works. If he now steps down for you, does it become a sacrifice for you?
But I want us to give a voice to people who have made these sacrifices and it has burnt them. Where the wife says, you know what, I was a doctor, I was a lawyer, I was whatever it is. I can remember the story of a lady who got a job. I think I shared it a long time ago. She got a job in NNPC many years ago. And she got a job, but she chose not to take it because her husband was posted to Nigeria, to Lagos. And she didn't want to have to be going to NNPC to, I think, was it somewhere in Bonny Camp? Stuff like that, Sha. So she now refused the job. 4 years after again, she applied again. She still got the better job again. And she still didn't take it because her husband wanted her to stay home and take care of the kids. By the time she was telling me, she was angry that she sacrificed her career. She actually loved her kids, had grown up great, but she feels that now that her children are entering secondary school, she feels like she's lost out in life. And her husband, who has a high flyer, is doing so well, she still feels like she cannot communicate, she cannot relate with his own friends because she's suddenly out of the corporate world. So she has no idea what's going on. So she feels left out. She feels like a whole 10, 15 years of her life has been just taken out away to the kids. So when a woman feels like that, how do you then accept that it was your choice and just move on? Sometimes it's a very difficult shoe to
So, one thing that I know Nima has said that you make this sacrifice and don't come back and say, after I've done for you. That is not the expectation. We hope we never get to the point where we have to even call someone out for not acknowledging or appreciating the sacrifices that we make. But it's the reality that couples have betrayed each other, in situations like that. And even if you did not mean to, you say, after all the sacrifices, you are taking account. We come to a point where we have to take account. So the truth is, as I know you said that we should give a voice to these women, but is that I feel that we give a voice to them many times, to the point that we have these conversations today where young people are saying, see, I've heard too many of these stories. I'm not going to be the
next one.
Yeah. So this Michelle Obama story sounds weird because we have heard the betrayal stories many times.
Yeah.
And the reason why this particular story that you have just highlighted, this NLNG woman, if the man, while she was making that sacrifice, understood the sacrifice she was making and was carrying her along. So yes, you're not in the corporate world, but come for us, come with me as I meet my friends or do something. She's doing something on the side. It will be sad that it means I'm sacrificing for the family to the point that I have nothing else to do. I have nothing else to look forward to. There's not like an alternative that is less demanding of my time that I'm doing instead. So instead of both of us being out, 9 to 5, I'm at home, but I'm doing something that he's supporting. I'm at home, but I'm doing maybe online courses that he's supporting. But if I'm just at home and then he's flying high and then he gets to a point where I've just realized I've been left behind, you have to, the one that is making that sacrifice, you have to carry that person along one way or the other. So at the point where you are now relaxing and enjoying the harvest, you're doing it together. But we will all come to a point where we will sit back and take account and find if our partner has acknowledged and appreciated the sacrifices we've made along the way.
Okay, I'm going to wrap up on this very soon. I'm going to take a few calls and hear from our viewers. But you see, the reason why we found this Michelle Obama thing trended was because many people felt that Obama is Obama now. Hey, you see these Nigerian men like that you go and sacrifice for. These men that are baby mama, they are mama's boys. That how do you choose the kind of spouse? How do you know the kind of spouse to sacrifice for? can I sacrifice? Can I stop this thing? Because remember now, these days, ladies are doing their master's degree. They're going abroad to Harvard. They are like high flyers. You just spend so much money. You're coming back home, speaking all this, and now you're about to get married, and the guy says, I think you got to stay home. So your father is like, after all the money I spent on your education. So these are the kind of sacrifice. And then you're thinking, should I not? It's like, and the Nima said it's a choice. You decide. Well, how does a woman know if it's the right decision to make?
I mentioned earlier that the decision to stay at home is not for the husband, it's for your children and for yourself. Like you're making a decision that I'm going to do this for the kind of family I want to have. I don't want a family where we both don't know our children and we are both just focused on personal growth and grandizement when we have given birth to children we are responsible for. That's one. How do you know a man that is worth making sacrifice for? You really can't tell. You know, people sacrifice and raise children, and we pray that our children would appreciate the sacrifices we have made. I didn't understand the pressure of my parents went through until I gave birth. The day after giving birth, I looked at my parents differently. I looked at my mother-in-law differently. Like I came back and I'm like, Tokwe, you are going to be a mother-in-law. You better change how you are looking at being a mother-in-law, because I had boys. I think that we all pray and hope our investment turns out right, even when we do our best. So you might invest this time in a man, but don't put your hope on a human being. God has given you brains. I think that the conversation should end on the note of how should you wait? Waiting right. Don't wait and fold your hands and think it's over. Michelle Obama waited, but she did not become redundant. She waited and she was so vibrant all through. And now, when the children are seemingly, they are on their own and okay, she's writing books, going on book tours around the world. She's living her life. So that woman's story you just shared, her life isn't over. She can just stand up and think that I am 62 now. All of them I'm done with Omugo. I want to start a different phase of my life. The number just came to my head. Because really, as a 62, many people feel like their life is over. But it's not. You can start a fresh journey at any point in time. So the point is, don't stay in bitterness. Don't let bitterness keep you from seeing the opportunities, because what happens in most cases is when women feel betrayed, they become bitter and they never see any good anywhere anymore. And it steals their joy and steals their life.
We are not talking to the men enough about where they see an opportunity for the woman to be the one to go out and chase the dreams and chase
this happens.
We don't see enough of that. And the reason why we're having this conversation and why we're having comments like this, especially from young girls saying, I'm not going to make that mistake, is because we're not saying enough of that. We need to, I want to hear men. I want to hear men say, you know what, I figure when we started this, my wife is so brilliant, she's so this, the connection she has, the influence she has to be the one that, is out there, be the high flyer, and I've got the house covered for her. We don't have that conversation. We need to have it. And the sort of women and girls that we're raising now, they're coming out, they're high flyers. And they're going to meet you, the Nigerian man. Are you ready? Are you truly ready to make the sacrifices that that is expected for your family and for her growth? And
I'm going to come to you on that because I want you to touch on that. I'm also going to bring in our guests, but let me just let you have a word.
Okay, so I agree with Miriam that, we should talk more about such, but I have seen a lot of that. I know a family where the man had an idea of a business, the wife's corporate fund started the business, and then she had to step out of the business. What he simply did, she's so signatory to the account, she approves whatever money is going out, and he's enjoying just being creative. So sometimes families do these things and we don't talk more about it. What I wanted to happen was what Tokwe said. Sometimes it's not because you've been betrayed, just because you now felt left out. You just feel, I know what I could have been like. When I was 30, I knew what kind of person I was out there. And then suddenly you allow bitterness start to come in to distort your mentality. That's not when you should have negative mentality. That is when you should be grateful that every single thing you sacrifice for, because life itself is a risk, you are seeing the results. If you sacrifice so your husband will be a high flyer, do you want him not to be a high flyer so that you'll be happy when you're in your negative mental state? No, you want him to be a high flyer. And so that itself is your success. If you're sacrificing for your kids, your success will be that, they are worth exactly what you sacrificed for. So you're reaping exactly what you sowed. So please, let's just have that gratitude mentality.
Good morning, Rotimi. Are you there?
Yes, thank you.
You're live. Go ahead, please. Morning, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, the issue we are discussing right now this morning is a very interesting issue. I will let you know, most career with lose their man at the end of it. Because they usually, majority of them, usually get lost with their career. Once they fall in love with their career, before you get to the strength to carry on their marriage. One. Because so many of them will think, I don't need the money for consulting. I don't need them. What I just need, especially when they have a kid or two. Before you get to know, they are divorced. Before you get to know, they don't have time for their mom. These are the issues. Because we should not bring the American side to Nigeria. If you start importing this West civilization, it's destroying our society. If you look in the world, America has higher. The same thing is coming to Nigeria. Naturally, our little don't appreciate marriage anymore. What they are just after these days is how to make money from their career. And this is not good for our society. That's why we have single parents everywhere, baby mamas, baby fathers. This thing is affecting and killing our society. We should not fly this career into in marriages.
Thank you, Rotimi. Could you summarize what
Yes, so he's just saying that a lot of women, career women, lose their husbands. That's why there's a higher rate of divorce these days. They love their careers more than they love their families or willing to make the sacrifices for their family.
Okay, I'll bring in our guest because I'd like to even hear her thoughts, our celebrity guest, to join the conversation. But when we come back, I want us to talk about those men who have chosen to step back.
Yes.
Seeing that their wives are high flyers, they are MDs of companies, and you know, yeah, I'll stay with the children. I'm okay. Can we have a conversation and understand their own thinking and see if more men can begin to accept this role, especially as we move and evolve into a new world? Let's go on a break. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. So joining the conversation is a Nigerian radio personality, talk show host, presenter, entrepreneur, and the beautiful Tolu Oniro Demure. Welcome to the studio.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Good to have you,
Thank
Tols.
you. Thank you.
So before you came on, we're having this really interesting conversation about Michelle Obama's posts where she was saying that she, at some point in her career, she was giving 70% and her husband was giving 30%. And we're discussing the dynamics in the home where when women have to sacrifice and step back because of their husbands. Some have been burnt, others are full of regrets. They feel that they were betrayed. So we're actually going to flip it to the fact that some Nigerian men are now accepting that role of, listen, you are the MD of the company, you're doing well, why don't I stay home with kids? We need to, Mariam was saying that we don't say more of that, maybe to encourage more men in that situation. Let me start with you. Have you ever seen the situation where a woman has to sacrifice? And would you ask a woman to sacrifice for her husband?
So in my few years of being married, I've been married like how many years now, I've realized that what would work for me won't work for somebody else. What works for somebody else won't work for me. So I think if within their unit, if it works for them, so for example, if as the MD of the company, she is bringing in more money, and you know, they have this idea that there's certain couples that once they have children, they're like, no, somebody has to be at home. If that's what works for them, I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think it's down to communication within the couple and understanding what the needs of the family are, and just making sure that, you know, to the best of their abilities, the needs are met.
But in cases where women feel like, so we're talking about being idle. Somebody was sending me a message that even if you step back, don't be idle, because you don't want women to feel that become bitter. Because you now look 10, 15 years down the line, your kids are grown, they've left the house, and here you have nothing but church activities, and you come home, you go to, I mean, like, you feel like you don't have a life. What advice would you tell women in that situation?
Okay, so I'm trying to be good because this is morning TV. But if I'm going to be very honest, I think it's so important, so important, even if for especially the woman to have something. Because I was watching something on, I think it was a podcast where it was in the UK, but a lot of British Nigerians, and they were talking about how they wish that their mums in particular did not sacrifice so much, because they sacrificed so much that their joy was only in their children. So so basically when you get, you know, when the kids now grow up, they, you know, go to university, they're out of the house, they don't really have much of a life. So I found, and this is something that I've also experienced, obviously getting married, having children, I would say in the last year or so, I've basically kind of embarked on a journey of like rediscovering myself. Because, you know, a lot of people know when you become a wife, when you become, you know, mother, things change. And it's I think it's almost natural for women to, you know, say, I want to be the great wife, I want to be a great mother and everything. And before you know it, you kind of forget yourself. So I remember there was a point about almost 2 years ago where I kind of forgot what I liked. I kind of forgot the things that, for some people it might be, you know, it might be shopping, it might be, you know, it might be reading, it might be traveling, and I just forgot about the things that made me, you know, like gingered me. So over the last year or so, I've kind of gone back to, okay, I'm changed, I'm a different person. What excites me? What makes me happy? What makes me me? I'm still obviously doing the best to be, you know, a great mom and wife as well.
Let me come to the ladies here.
On this show, we have YK on the show. And YK mentioned how she was a dancer. She went on tour. She went everywhere in the world. She had a life because she had a support system. Her mom and grandma helping with her daughter. And when her mom died, she snapped out of it that, you know, someone has to. And she wasn't in a marriage, so she wasn't sacrificing for one man. It was about her daughter. And today she's living that life. She's sort of finished raising her daughter. When she went to school, she got her life back. So it doesn't seem like it's impossible to wait a period, give it a part of your life to something and then get back your life. Is it also possible, because I have seen that, is it possible to encourage women to think, okay, when the kids get to a certain stage, did I get my life back? Or does it mean that, you know, everything just pauses and life, you know, then you start to enter into this negative mentality of regret?
So let me just, you know, respond to that.
I don't ask you.
Was that a question you want me to answer?
So Nima is talking about a woman who can make the sacrifice and take some time out, knowing that eventually she can take her time, you know, make that time back. But do we ask it of men? No. Do we want men to take that time off?
Do you think men don't take that time off?
Will men be willing to take time off, knowing that eventually in their 60s, when the muscles are faded and everything, and then they can have their time back because they used their 30s and their 40s to be at home while the wife was high-flying? So I think today's conversation for me is that men should be encouraged to see it as a possibility. That if you have that sort of situation, you can take a step back without
Doesn't that go against the Bible? You know,
without
going with
a
taught
society.
like a man is the head, you're the neck, you're the move you around.
No, but it's even apart from the Bible, how many women will be comfortable with the fact that they are the ones footing all the bills? Even if they're comfortable, the society isn't comfortable about it.
Let's talk about.
But how many women will be comfortable because you stay with your friend and your friend said, oh, my husband just booked tickets for us to go to Kidiko, but because your husband is the one doing school runs and all of that, he's not earning as much to book your tickets. You are the one earning to book the ticket. So you are now unable to fully share, oh, my husband just did this one for me, because you are the one that has taken up, you're bringing in the money and he is supporting at home. So social construct already doesn't favor a man sitting down to support.
Devil's advocate for a second. So I think that sort of ideology kind of, I mean, if a woman is at home looking after the kids, doing the school runs and everything, that is an extremely important job. So I think people that look at it like when it's flipped, when it's a man that's doing it, it's not as important. That for me is like the wrong ideology. I think it's, yeah. I mean, honestly, like there've been times when I've had like a few months, I'm at home with the kids. It is a hectic job. It's actually very hectic. Balancing it out with a career is crazy. I would say this, a lot of men are not, when it comes to sacrificing certain things, let me give you an example. If you have a guy that for the longest time, every Saturday he plays five-a-side football. Every Saturday from like 9 till 1, he plays five-a-side football with his friends. I guarantee you that he gets married, he has kids, he's still playing five-a-side football. Whereas a woman, you know, quite often she has a certain passion, something that she's been doing. She gets married, things kind of change. She has children, things change. So yeah, so I think really it's all about balance. So if you are passionate, you know, maybe about dancing, and that's something that makes you feel alive, makes you feel happy, I don't think it's something that you should give up completely. I think maybe just try to do it, because I found that when I went through the stage where I was like, okay, you know what, kids, 100%, you know, marriage 100% and everything, I don't think I was really fulfilling myself. So I actually don't think I was the best mom. I think it's very important for you to be, you know how sometimes like you're stressed at work, it's been crazy, then you're looking after the kids. I don't
You'll be
think.
snapping.
Yes, I don't think you're the best mom. And there's a certain level of happiness. There's a certain level of happiness that you get when you're doing something for you. I don't think it means you have to be, completely selfish. I think it will be very difficult to, to sort of do that. But I think it's really a question about balance.
All right, let me go on a quick break. When we come back, we continue this conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. So we do know a few men who have made that choice of staying back. And it would be nice to hear from a few of them this morning to tell us their experience. But I was going to say something about women. Because a woman sometimes feels like I've failed. Not because she has truly failed. Because Nima always says something that the fact that she's a mother has more value than any other thing she could have been. So this is the weight she puts on that role as being a mother. But a woman sees tools or Miriam with your hair, your nails are done, you go out to the spa, you're talking about these, you're going out for meetings, you have lunch and this, you come back.
You're traveling the world.
You're traveling, you come back, and she feels like I'm just there.
Yes.
I take the kids, so for our own definition of I'm not successful is that you're doing so much stuff. You have your money to buy hair, you're traveling somewhere, and sometimes like she doesn't have that extra funds to buy a weave. She doesn't have that extra funds to have lunch somewhere. She doesn't have extra funds to get her nails done. That's her own definition of failure. Although she has kids who are doing well, her kids are doing great. Right. So how do we define what success is, especially today? Mariam, want to jump in?
Yes, because you reminded me of a conversation I had with a friend. I used to work in the bank. And I remember after I had my first child, I was, home basically. And my friend who still worked in the bank at the time when she came, and I was just pouring my heart to her and saying how I, envied them. They were still, in their nice suits. She says, Madam, do you know that we go to Mountain of Fire to pray for what you have? It was like perspective, And so for some of us, it's not really about, like you said, it's not the failure. It's just formal. Like we're missing out on something. We're constantly doing it to each other. Whichever side of the divide you're on, you're constantly thinking the other person is doing better than you. So I think it's good to have conversations where we remind each other that you're doing good where you are. And,
Okay, let me come. So, okay, I'm going to come here. Go ahead.
I wanted to talk because when we were on the break, we were talking about strong women and strong personalities where women, is it possible? Is it possible for one woman to be everything? She can show that it all.
Okay, so I was talking about, I had this idea and I started sharing it with my friends. I don't like the term strong woman. Strong woman is not really, like I was saying, if you founded a business, if you had different offices all over the world, they wouldn't call you a strong woman because of that. A strong woman is somebody that has endured and is enduring and will keep enduring.
Long suffering.
So, yes. So I think when like the different things that have happened to me, when people have called me, I think I've done quite well, career-wise. But when people have called me a strong woman, it's because of the heartache I've endured. Like when I, lost my first child. When I lost my first child, people were like, you're a strong woman, you're a strong woman. So for me, I equate being called a strong woman to your negative experience, to pain and what you have endured. Like, they're not talking about you're a strong woman because you have all these businesses. You're a strong woman because something that should have broken you didn't break you. But you know what? And then once you're termed strong woman, then it just means that you have this back that can just take more and more and more and more. So I tell people, don't call me a strong woman, call me a powerful woman. I like that because it just means that I feel encompasses everything. So it basically talks about, your inner strength. It talks about what you've achieved, what you've created, how you're balancing different things. And I think it's, for me, in my opinion, it's like a more appropriate term.
But let me come to you, because I know you had a few examples of people, I know you don't mention their names, but a few men who have taken on this new role of staying at home, and they're doing well.
And it's very impressive that I know someone personally that his wife, very high-flying woman, and he's the one people know in school. He's the one that comes for school runs. He's the one that you see checking the children's book at midterms. And we don't acknowledge them enough because you know what? Negative stories trend, It is the person that comes out and say, oh, I've lost everything. That person will go viral. The one that comes out to say, oh, I have such an amazing husband. That my husband is doing it. They're like, oh, she's lying. She's hiding something. I'm sure he's beating her inside the room. She's just coming out to paint a perfect picture out there. And the reason we need to highlight that is because some people believe, and a lot of young women, young ladies are scared of getting married because they're scared that when they get married, it will mean that they are losing out on all the possibilities that can happen in future. So we need to highlight a few of these men that have made the
That's what they do
sacrifices as
comment
well.
on the wrap up on
Ekundayo
this.
33 says, her success is my joy. My wife works with a government agency that she was transferred out of Lagos. I had to adjust my work schedule to be able to take care of the home, and we are both happy. So good to see that.
We need more of that. More men are embracing that.